Greetings and welcome to your mid-February 2022 experience. I am your astrological commentator. In these videos, we talk about what the heck's going on in this particular point in time. February 2022 is a major transitionatory period. There is a going through an overhaul type of energy, particularly what was taking us through January and into this month. Now, this has been the season of Capricorn. Yes, Capricorn season is taking us through February this year. Mercury just stationed in Capricorn, where he is joined with Pluto, 27 degrees today. Venus just stationed direct in Capricorn, where she will be joined with Mars this next week. Now, this is where there's going to be some turning point, some overhaul. Mercury did just station direct on Pluto, which brings a scrutinizing, penetrative insight into what's going on deeply beneath the surface. I've used the analogy before of this being a bit of a Chicago gangster type of energy, a bit more of a sharp tongue. This is a time where we can be having some real conversations as well as some real insights and revelation. Now, the function of Pluto is to transform, to work with the materials at hand, what is even deeply beneath the surface. So Mercury conjunct Pluto is more than just dark thoughts or negative thinking. This is our consciousness being directed to what's really going on beneath the surface. So this is the time where we can have such revelation, penetrative insights. It is a time where the scraping up of what we've been really working with, transmutating the materials at hand, it is clear now. We can see what we are working with. We can see who we are working with. And this recent Venus retrograde at the very start of 2022 is where there is so many changes in relationship dynamics, the exchanges of energy, how we are gathering, trading resources. You may have noticed going into 2022, suddenly land, property, money, base fundamental resources is a hot topic. How are we going to create this future direction, these future projects, these future relationships that have new and different ways of providing sustenance? Now, again, February is an in-between time where Venus and Mars have been transiting this last few weeks. They've been square to Chiron. This is where we have mentioned end of 2021 and 2022, the Venus retrograde began and ended with the square to Chiron. This being a signature of a healing of the heart. This being a signature of the experience of healing crises through the mirror of relationship. Healing medicine and improvements coming to us through the mirror of relationship. Us healing our own trust of ourselves, so that way we can own and embody our own unique value system, has been the theme of this recent Venus retrograde. Now, this again has been an overhaul. It's like we've been scraping the bottom of the barrel of all of these dynamics, creative blockages, sexual blockages, heart blockages, creativity blockages. That is where Mars and Venus are beginning what will be a journey together from February, March into April of this year. This is something that's very beautiful, special, and unique about this year of 2022 is Venus just moved retrograde and stationed direct, and now Mars is catching up to her. And due to their retrograde motions this year, they're now going to be moving at almost the exact same pace. February, March into April. Venus usually moves much faster and passes Mars. Because Venus just stationed, Mars is now approaching Venus, and the two are going to transit together. Capricorn into Aquarius, into Pisces, February into March into April. So this next week on February 16th, Venus and Mars join together in Capricorn. There is this symbolic new cycle. And by the way, we are in this in-between period. My heart goes out for those that are still going through the bumps, the judders, the clearing out. Again, Venus has been a major healing of the heart. And then this last week, we also saw Mars square to Chiron, which also brings up the healing that can involve energy, physicality, sexuality, libido. When we have Mars square Chiron, there can be a jumping and a stuttering of when we have energy, when we have direction. So there is this getting online. It's like we're working with these materials and we're figuring out who and what the direction is, but it's still getting online. It's finding itself. Now, this last new moon in Aquarius, I did title that new moon Finding Direction, and that is what we're finding throughout this lunar cycle. This Venus and Mars coming together on the 16th, this is going to birth a new, fresh energy. And in the sign of Capricorn, it's the time to build it. This is the time of building new relationships that can be long-lasting, collaborative projects that can take us through the months and years to come. This is about forming a fundamental structure of what's really going to work. I've used the analogy, it's like being in the basement level. So we're in the basement level and we're pouring this foundation. That is going to take us through February. Venus and Mars together enter into Aquarius on March 6th. Again, they are joint together, the same degree, on top of one another these coming weeks. Now that in and of itself is a powerful signature for this raw creative potential. This is a raw, creative, sexual energy. And these two planets together is really about embodiment. There is a need to encapsulate this energy. Again, this is going into creative ventures, projects, relationship structures. It's the time to form out of the passion and energy, where this creative aspiration can lead us like wind filling a boat's sail. Venus and Mars are also the two planets that have the most to do with the body. So this month of February, while we are getting online, while we're forming these directions, while that train is exiting the station, because that's the energy taking us into March, this is also going to establish this energy system that actually works. This is going to, again, affect us bodily, even physically, how we're handling energy, the amount of hours we put into our job, what's demanding our attention. There's this tremendous reprioritization that's going on at this time. And this is really nothing new. Mercury just stationed where Saturn was joined with Pluto these last several years. This reprioritization has been catalyzed by the coronavirus epidemic, by the overall changing of global economy and structures and how we are functioning in the world and as a society. So this is about creating a new structure for how we're relating to the world. And this is going to birth a time where we can be doing more in the world. We're going to be birthing new projects, collaborations that can be involved in the world. This is a time where in our partnerships, we're talking about what we are contributing back to the world. This is the ultimate goal of relationship, is not simply to escape off into some fantasy or some idle vacation. We get to use the love, the provision, the mutual sustenance of relationship to create stability, to have a mutual regulation of each other's bodies and nervous system, so that way we can find our dharma, our duty, our soul's work, which will be coming from every unique soul. And then the relationship can create a platform for that. This is not just intimate relationship. This is also what we can do in our friendships, in our work associates. This is what the real purpose of a church or a conscious community is to create this type of support that actually allows us to do more and to be more and to contribute back to the world and society. So this again has been the energy going into 2022. Capricorn, very serious, very, focused on timelines and money and what's coming and going. And it's like, do we have enough of this? Do we have the resources to survive this coming winter? What do we want to build, and what's the actual architectural, map to lay this foundation? Now, that's also where we can be challenged. Again, we're doing a lot of physical bodily healing to get this base level together. What's the food situation? It's like really can be very basic when we're jump starting these brand new cycles and endeavors. So I want to simply honor the importance of the body. Venus and Mars ruling fundamental physicality and sexuality. This is also what we are encouraged to bypass in our patriarchal societies, in our patriarchal popular religions. So this period is about embodiment. It's not necessarily hitting the ground running. And I say this delicately because I make these videos. It's going to go to thousands of people that are going to have different timelines. This is all general, this is all gist, and I could never encapsulate the energy of any given time into words as much as I do try. There's always a frustration for an astrologer. You can see a map that holds everything in this single visual. Everything's there, and then to break it apart and to communicate it would take lifetimes. So, embodiment. We all have this physical nature. We're born with penises and vaginas and sexuality, and then we're not taught how to use it. We're born into societies, religions, and cultures where these things are bypassed and ignored. And this has everything to do with our fundamental creativity, our spark, which is our purpose for living, the actual ambition that drives our capability to build and contribute back to society. If we want to build in society, we have to have this spark. We have to have our own creativity online in some way, shape, or form. And that brings us to the full moon in Leo. Now, every single year, we get every single full moon in every single zodiac sign, but every single year, these full moons are not the same. And this is not a stereotypical full moon in Leo. This is a full moon in Leo square the moon's nodes. And I think one of the underlying themes that we can be experiencing, while there's so much direction and energy and effort that is laying the foundation for these new directions, these new projects and relationships, it's all kicking off. It's a grand new adventure, and at the same time, it's like we've been putting in so much effort, and there has been these squares to Chiron, and so much healing, and so much leaking out, and all of these things getting put in and put out, and it's like being laid out on the frickin' operation table. And when we jump off the operation table, well, the point is we don't do that. We may want to jump off the operation table. We may be stir crazy, being in whatever casts or harnesses or fluorescent lighting type of environment while the operation is being done. So, a part of the theme of this full moon in Leo, square the nodes, while Venus and Mars come together in Capricorn the same day. This is February 16th. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Yeah. You see, when a planet is square the moon's nodes, it means that it's not actually being served to us on a silver platter. So the stereotypical Leo energies that so many of my fairy astrologers, so-called astrologers, are going to be ranting and raving about, well, that's actually where we may be experiencing a deficit energy. By the way, in my astrology school, I have just put out 2 hours on planets square the nodal axis. For those of you who are into astrology, especially those using astrology as a healing modality, this is one of the most important lessons I will cover in the Astro School. Planets square the moon's nodes can be trauma signatures. They're one of the most important signatures in the birth chart, where there's a lifelong healing journey, as well as where we can actualize some of our greatest gifts and potentials. There's over 30 hours of video material currently in the Astro School curriculum. I add a new lesson every month, and a subscription to the Astro School also gets you attendance into the monthly Q&A circle. So I look forward to getting some questions about your own chart and your own experience. Next month in March, it's going to be Venus and Mars together in Aquarius, square to the moon's nodes. This is a very important dynamic to understand. We're going to need to be very consciously integrating Venus and Mars while they're doing their experimental liftoff in Pisces season, March 2022. Okay, to come back to the full moon in Leo, square the moon's nodes, what this means is we are halfway through our eclipse seasons. Eclipses happen when there's a new or full moon aligned with the moon's nodes. So the sun is currently at the halfway point between the moon's nodes. We're halfway in between eclipse seasons, and this is where we're going to have our full moon square to the moon's nodes. Now, Leo is all about the need to include and honor. Leo is about honoring our individuality, our personality, our spontaneous self-expression that comes from our uniqueness. See, Leo is our sense of specialness, having already lived so many lifetimes, having already gathered so many skills, having already developed a particular style. That is who we are. Every single human being is a divine child of God. We are all kings and queens. That's the reality of Leo. It's that inner spark, that inner sense of specialness. Leo is the heart. Now, this is again where the square to the moon's nodes, we can get lost in the infrastructure, the technique, the excitement of planning, the new relationships that are forming, so much that we can actually lose this sense of who we are and our own individual needs and that unique spark. This can actually bring up an energy dynamic of feeling like life itself is simply a machine, or feeling an absence of our heart, our personality, or life. We cannot let that energy overly absorb us into believing that life itself is only a machine. This is actually the time to consciously take the time and the effort to feel the moon, to feel into where we stick out like a sore thumb, and to embrace that need or that call to do it differently than how others may be doing it. There's going to be a loudness with this full moon. Again, when planets square the moon's nose, this is a very fascinating dynamic. It's like there's a disassociation dynamic that can occur here, because all these planets are actually rotating on a nearly singular plane, the ecliptic, but planets are actually going above and beneath this plane, creating their own nodes. So when planets square the moon's nodes, they're actually further away from the ecliptic. They're a little bit harder to hear. They're more dissociated. And as a paradoxical coping, consciousness can overcompensate for that disconnection. So there can actually be a loudness of that full moon in Leo that can be like the suppressed voice of the inner child. Where I like to say that Leo is like when the ice cream truck drives by and the child says, "Hey, Ma, ice cream man's here. I want to get ice cream. Can I get some ice cream, please? There's SpongeBob. Ice cream. I really love SpongeBob." You know, it's the spontaneous excitement. All these fire signs, the element of fire is the actual spark of life. It is this in the moment, lived, tasting, living life experience. So Leo craves this. It wants to experience this life in this unique and special way, to be our own and be seen in our own unique and special way. And it's like we have been told so many countless times by our moms, dads, parents, partners, no, it's 5 minutes before dinner time. You can't have ice cream. No, you've got work to do. It's not time to play. These are serious projects that are getting built. These are real crises that demand your attention and your, contribution in life. And that's true. But we're also getting this, brief emotional message, which is a full moon. Full moon also is where the sun illuminates the moon. We get this objective, we can clearly see and feel this rest. This full moon is quincunx to Pluto. Pluto's the soul. Pluto's the unconsciousness. And here I think of the Ericksonian quote. Milton Erickson, the father of modern hypnotherapy, tremendous, teacher and guide who's not so much known about in the New Age movement, funnily enough, even though he's inspired so many trauma therapies. Anyways, Erickson calls the inner child the same as the unconscious. The unconscious, which in Jungian terms was like, dark and scary, and it's like all of these suppressed, raw passions, raw sexuality. Society says that's impolite. That doesn't fit these, lines, and you need to color in the lines. And then this inner beast, becomes a source of power and energy because of all this suppression. And the more we suppress our unconscious, the more it gets distorted, the more it needs to draw attention to itself in strange and unusual ways, because it does not go away. We can never make energy or consciousness disappear. So when planets square the nodes, again, check your chart, enroll in my school. This is going to be information you may not find elsewhere. This isn't common astrology, but I really wish it was. That's why I'm doing my PR in a Leonian type of way. This is where I stick out like a sore thumb. This is actually where we have storehouses of energy, because it's what's been previously suppressed. And because of that suppression, there can be this distortion. So under this full moon, there can actually be this loudness, this demandingness. This can either be in a total avoidance of Leo, and we're just parroting the group. Let's say, it's a lot of these, retreats that I see out there that are like really taking things seriously. It's like, what? We're going to have a certification on how to have fun. And this is course number 1. You're going to learn to have fun with your hands. And course number 2, you're going to learn to have fun with colored pencils. And it's like, sure, if that works for you, you can go that route. And do you really need to have a certification to have fun? I think some of us are learning how to access this fun, this creativity, this spontaneity. That would again be a theme of the day, but that can become a little bit self-defeating, can it not? So just have fun. Get the ice cream cone. Be spontaneous. Do what you did not get to do on your birthday when you were a child. The other way this can go is that offline full moon can be that unconscious, empowered, distorted, inflamed inner child just running loose and buying thousands of bounce houses to, bounce off of the wall and everywhere else, So the point is to make the full moon conscious, to celebrate our life, our uniqueness, our individuality, the creative spark of the inner child, what makes us feel special, what is fun, even if it is not totally serious. And that will allow us to birth this new creative energy. Venus and Mars conjoining together in Capricorn are going to stay side by side, February, March into April, Capricorn into Aquarius, where they'll square the nodes, into Pisces. Now, where things are moving, end of February into March, is an increasingly creative and free-flowing direction. Venus and Mars square to Chiron has been doing this underbelly sweeping out, and there's been an uncorking of something. Something needs to get out of the way. And if we've been more crushed, lethargic, drained, sexually blocked, there's something we're addressing. And even in the body, Moving energy, moving energy. We're going to get into this Aquarius period that's going to get increasingly airy, increasingly fast-paced. You may have already noticed how much more fast-paced February is in comparison to January. Increasingly so as these planets enter into Aquarius, planets moving into air element, interconnecting different dots, chemical reactions, synthesizing and forming new outcomes. And now we're dealing with new colors and new sounds, and those new colors and sounds are starting to move, and we're starting to have new connections and realizations. This is going to be some of this excitement. So Venus and Mars are sextile to Neptune the last week of February. It's a really beautiful opportunity for us to be in that flow. There's going to be a creative movement. These can even be people and resources that are just coming to us in that mystical type of way. The universe has our back when we are centered. The universe has our back when we're aligned with our divine will. That is to say, we are aligned with what we were created to be. That means that we're aware of who we are. We are aware of what we were born into, the materials that we were given, the cards that we have had dealt. That is a lot of the work I do as an astrologer, is to make people aware of who they are, what they're working with, so they can be validated and reaffirmed to do their will. So when we align with our will, when we're true to our heart, when we're authentic with our individual self-expression, Leo, the universe has our back. We don't even have to push the boulder up the mountain by ourselves. There's support out there. There is a hidden network between all things. That is the reality that we do tune into. We don't talk about it. We own it. We be it. We experience it as we live through the zodiac. Real astrologers are not just talking about things that we read in books. This comes from life experience. So we're going to tune into, increasingly so, this hidden, mystical network, this interconnection between all things. This coming Pisces season is going to be magical. The sun moves into Pisces on February 18th and will remain there through mid-March. However, Venus and Mars will be getting into Pisces later on into March into April. So this Pisces magic is going to really take us through a large part of this year of 2022. Jupiter is considered in his exaltation in the sign of Pisces. Jupiter used to rule Pisces in traditional astrology, now being ruled by modern rulership of Neptune. Jupiter in Pisces is this magical synchronicity, this reality that all things are interconnected. There is a guiding hand in life. Just how as the finger is connected to the hand, is connected to the arm, is connected to the torso, our whole experience of individuality, Leo, does have this mystical underlying connection to the greater network, Aquarius, that does lead us into the reality that all is one, Pisces. And we can form a relationship to that allness, to that oneness, even personally, even inwardly, through the heart. Pisces is not something that can be comprehended. It is not something that makes sense to us. It is entirely mystical, and miracles are normal when we are in tune with Pisces reality. This is all on the menus, my friends and families. This is going to, again, be a turning point type of month, and if we can lay this foundation for our authentic contribution, I think that we're going to be amazed, shocked, and surprised how much support the universe is going to bring to us when we are being our authentic self and when we are open to listening, collaborating, and receiving the support of others, the universe, and the world around us. This is what we should be seeking and what we should be open to, and at the same time, we can have fun. It's not an either or. This is a life that says we're going to get to include it all. We have to have fun in order to authentically know our inner child. We have to have fun in order to preserve that spark, that ambition that allows for us to contribute more back to others. So it's not the time to be inauthentically selfish. It's the time to be authentically selfish with who we are and what we need as individuals so we can connect that with other individuals in increasingly inspiring and supportive ways. Mercury will trine the moon's north node next week on the 12th, enters into Aquarius on the 14th, where Mercury remains in Aquarius the 14th through March 10th. Asteroid Juno, the partnership asteroid, just entered Aquarius. From February 1st through April 20th, asteroid Juno will be inspiring these networks, these collaborations, these capabilities to work with others in very pioneering, futuristic, ahead of its time, experimental type of ways. That especially we're going to get to into March, when Venus and Mars go into Aquarius on March 6th. Asteroid Ceres, so much to do with the principle of nurturance. The mother asteroid, the goddess of grain. Cereal is where we have cereal named after. Ceres is in Gemini from February 8th to May 15th. There is a capability to nurture ourselves and others through a learning, through a teaching, through a communication of ideas. So again, there's going to be some laying of grid works that can open some new doorways and portals to increased information exchange and collaboration. I have to admit, I am excited for each and every one of us. Speaking of Gemini, Air, Information Exchange, you can join my community at rasalilacommunity.com this next weekend, I believe the 19th, we're having our next Q&A circle where you can bring in your birth chart along with a question, and I do a mini reading for everyone. The Q&A membership is included with my Astro School subscription, so you can take the Astro School, again, over 30 hours of video material currently available in the school. You get access to all of that and the Q&A every month, plus a new video added to the school every month. So it's an opportunity for you to learn evolutionary astrology at a go-at-your-own-pace type of way. And then you can check in with me either in the Q&A circle or for a one-on-one mentorship reading. I am extremely passionate to get evolutionary astrology out to more people. I sincerely see that EA is the best tool, science and medicine, that I have so far discovered that does validate the uniqueness of the individual soul, what we have, what we're working with, and our journey throughout our life. If anybody finds another tool, method, or medicine that validates the authenticity and the individuality of the soul, I would really love to hear it. So thank you so much for listening. Wishing you the best. Take care.